conversation with character to reflect on my past and present, aware of character defects.
I'm sorry.
The passion, the power, the purpose of unwoven recovery, unity, service, 1 year token.
The most prestigious network in the land.
This is Karikter Asked It. You already know Karikter did it. I'm here with Hypokrit, bro. Tell us about yourself. What do you do?
Oh man, I'm a musician and I'm also a social media influencer. And I got a clothing business on the side as well.
Okay. How old?
But like most me, I'm 30.
No shit.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Well, I live in Ohio right now. I'm like 30 minutes away from Cleveland, but I was born in California, Anaheim.
Okay, so tell me about your childhood, man. Tell me about growing up in California. What brought you to Ohio?
Oh man, I didn't go straight to Ohio actually. Like when I first lived in California, there was like a bad earthquake. I didn't live there very long. There was this earthquake that happened when I was a baby, and my mom was like, "Fuck this," and we left, and we went to Utah first. And we lived in Utah, I want to say like 3 or 4 years, and then we moved to this little town called Grand Junction, Colorado. After that, we didn't have nobody out there either. That was when I was 8 or 9, I want to say. I was in first grade. My first grade year was my first year in Colorado. And I lived there until I was about 16. And then I went to Chicago and lived in Chicago for a little while. And then after Chicago, I went back to Colorado for a little bit. I've lived in Texas. I've lived in Arizona. I've lived in Oregon. So I just recently came to Ohio, actually, because the woman I'm with.
What made you move around so much as a kid?
My mom was a single mom, so my dad kind of just bounced. And so my mom, her side of the family is super religious. My grandpa's a Mormon, and not just a Mormon, but like he's very heavily tied into the Mormon religion. He works at the temple. I'm not sure if it's the Temple of Lehi or the Temple of Nephi, but it's one of the really important Mormon temples. He works up there. And so there was a lot of pressure on my mom because she's not church oriented. And so she wanted to be away from her family. And so she moved to Colorado. And so she could like kind of start fresh and do her own thing, I guess. And then I was just the rebel kid and I didn't want to listen. And so my mom kicked me out when I was 16. And so I moved to Chicago to go live with my best friend who had grew up across the street from me in Colorado, but he had moved back to Chicago. And it's a crazy story, man. There's a lot into it, but long story short, my mom kicked me out and I moved around after that. I was the one that was moving around so much, not my family.
Okay.
But,
so how long were you in that position where you're just moving around? You started when you're 16. How long were you doing that?
Till about 2 years ago, almost. It'll be 2 years in February.
Damn.
Yeah, I was.
Damn.
I was technically homeless.
Like
I wasn't
12
homeless,
years.
Yeah.
Holy shit, bro.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. Tell me experiences and that you had then and the lessons you've learned. And I know it's been a crazy ass ride, bro.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, my mom kicked me out. I was a problem child. I had a lot of issues because, I mean, I don't like to blame it all on my dad and say that it was because I didn't know my dad, but like, I didn't know my dad. And so I had no real guide to life to like tell me what like being a man was. And so I had to come and try to think of my own identity of what made a man. And so like, I grew up listening to punk rock and rap music, and it was, sex, drugs, rock and roll, and, having a lot of girlfriends and, being intimidating, getting in trouble. That's what I thought, being a man was. And so I was rebellious and promiscuous and just indulgent in every sort of behavior or substance I could get my hands on. Just as like a way to, I don't know, I guess was my way of saying, I don't have to listen to nobody, or maybe it was a cry for attention. I don't know. But I moved around a lot because my mom kicked me out, and then I was kind of homeless. And so I was just kind of living with any friend I could. And then once I was an adult, there's really nowhere that you can really go at that point. No one really wants to house an adult. They'll take care of a kid that's homeless. But so at that point, music became like a thing, and I started doing music, and I had some stability in Grand Junction for a little while after I came back from Chicago. I had gotten this little job at this place called Main Street Bagels, and I met my ex, who is the mother of my children. We had an apartment together and all this stuff, and I was doing music there for a little while. And when me and her split up, that was when like the worst of it happened. And I was like bouncing around a ton, like all that traveling that I was telling you about, most of that was done in the last 4 years. Yeah, because I kind of spiraled. I was bouncing around a lot, homeless for those last 4 years. And then before I met my baby mama, I was same situation, bouncing around homeless. I didn't want to work. And so, like when I was telling you, when I was 16 and I left Utah because my mom kicked me out, I went to Chicago and Colorado, and then I went to Chicago and lived with my best friend for a little bit, and then got kicked out of there, and then came back to Colorado, and then I'd get in a job, started off making my music stuff, opening up for little shows here and there, opened up for like Violent J, ICP on their group stuff. I did a Tech 9 show, stuff like that, trying to get my name out there. Met my baby mama. When me and her broke up, I went to Denver, met this other chick, moved in with her. That didn't work out. Went to Arizona, and hooked up with these people that I had met online who I didn't know. They were a couple. I'll keep their names private just because if they ever see this, I don't want to. We're not on good terms anymore, so I don't want to give them any unnecessary attention. For all I know, they don't want to be affiliated with me. But we lived together in this RV in a place called Payson, Arizona, up in the mountains, and it was us three, and it wasn't working out. And so they kicked me out, and then I met this chick named Jenny in Phoenix, and I was kind of off and on with her, staying with her, and then I was living in a hotel, and then I went to Tucson, lived there for a while. I had lived in Seaside, Oregon when I was, I want to say 19 at one point. And then I was in Astoria. San Antonio was actually right before me and my baby mama split up. We lived in Texas for a little bit. That's where my daughter was born. And I feel like I'm going on really on and on, but like,
oh, please.
I've just lived so many places. And San Antonio was like where the end of our relationship kind of fell off. But like, so anyways, bouncing around all over. After the divorce, I ended up in Phoenix, Tucson after all that. And then just until 2 years ago, I was in Tucson. My baby mama, after we split up, she had custody of both my kids. She hits me up randomly and she's like, I need you to take the kids. And I was like, okay. So she comes and drops them off to me. She says she's in a bad situation. This was February of 2022. So in February, this upcoming February, it'll be 2 years. So it hasn't even been 2 years yet that I've stopped being homeless. But anyways, I get the kiddos. I was living in Tucson. I don't have no family in Tucson, so I call my mom and I'm like, hey, look, I got the kids now. I'm gonna try to come back to, my mom at this time is living in Utah now. She had left Colorado. She's living in Utah with all her religious family now, all the families together. And I'm like, I need to come there, be closer to family. I got the kids now. I need a little bit of help. She's like, all right, cool. I go there and I'm staying there with, at my mom's house, and I met the girl I'm with now. We met on TikTok as I was, making TikToks, my conspiracy theories, and they were going. And she comes across my stuff, and we started talking, and One thing leads to another. I'm moving to Ohio, and that's how I ended up in Ohio. I moved to Ohio last year in May. I want to say we've been here ever since.
Congratulations, bro. Man, you've been on a hell of a ride, and it sounds like you landed in a pretty nice spot.
Yeah, and I butchered that whole story. I couldn't even keep it linear because, I'm nervous. I'm nervous to talk right now, to be honest with you. But there's a lot, man.
Take a deep breath. Listen, for real, these interviews are not interviews, they're conversations. I want to know about you. There's no judgment. There's no, feeling like you need to rush anything. I put out short form, okay? I'll cut the short form up as I need it. This long form, people want to know you. People want to hear the whole story.
Right. Yeah, and I could have done it in a more linear. There's a lot, though, man. There was a lot. Like you said, I was kind of on my own since I was 16, 17. And it could be kind of a sob story, but most of it was all my own doing. I was a tough person to deal with. Not just as a son. I was a tough brother. I was kind of a shitty boyfriend. I was a shitty husband, shitty friend to some people. The one thing I've always tried to hold up is that I'm not a shitty dad. I kind of fell into that one. I was good at being a dad.
And that changes everything about you too.
Yeah, 100%. When I got my kids, I haven't been homeless since. I've been sober. I was really going down a rough patch, especially with not being able to see my kids so much after me and their mom split up. So to be honest with you, I was partying so much, hoping that one day I would just get a bad batch or just do too much. Yeah. And if I'm just keeping it real. But then I got that call and she was like, hey, I need you to take the kids. Actually, I got it back up. Speaking of, hold on, baby girl. It's bedtime, baby. Hey, come on. Come on. It's bedtime.
Bring her on.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, it's past her bedtime. They got school tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I got to backtrack a little bit. Like, I didn't get sober when she told me the kids were coming. It was, for some reason, I had this weird feeling. I was staying with this one chick, and me and her were just doing a bunch of stuff together all the time, a bunch of substances. And I woke up one day and was just like, this is gross. I don't want to do this no more. And I went and I sweated it out for 2 weeks. And after I got clean, I don't know why. For some reason, I was just like, I was in Tucson still at the time.
Like, where at home?
I didn't have a home. I was staying with this one chick partying. I lived in hotels.
You just sweated out with her?
No, I broke up with her. I was staying with her off and on, like in her apartment. I had hotels, so like whenever I wasn't staying with her, I was in a hotel. But then I'd be with her and we would be doing drugs together. But I woke up one day in her place and she was still strung out and passed out. And I was just looking around. I looked at myself in the mirror and I looked around and I was just like gross. And I just grabbed all my shit and I left. And then there was this girl who I got into an entanglement with named Jules, and she made me sweat it out at her house in her bedroom. She was like, she knew I had liked her for a while, and she was like, look, I'm not gonna get into all the ins and outs about what you're doing, but like, you need to stay in my room and like get off of whatever you're on.
Shout out Jules, bro. Shout out Jules.
That was the only way she'd give me a chance. She was like, look, if you want to have a chance with me, like, I need to make sure you're straight. So like, you're gonna stay in my room and you're gonna sweat everything out. And so I stayed in there, sweat everything out. Me and her hooked up. And then I got the call from my baby mama that she needed me to take the kids. So it kind of worked out. Wow. Like, I had gotten clean before she dropped the kids.
Something was speaking to you there. Something was speaking to you there. That's crazy.
Right. And so then me and Jules had to call it off because I had to leave Tucson, obviously. Wow. I was like, I can't live in hotels with my kids. I got to go to Utah and be with fam. So I moved back to Utah, like I said, with my mom. My mom had moved to Utah. She left Colorado. She's living with her family. I moved there, and I had found out that back in Colorado, I had this warrant from a bar fight I had gotten into a long time ago. And I'm like, Utah's right there. And the place up in Utah that I'm living in at the time is like 90 minutes away from the border of Colorado. So I'm like, if I get picked up on a speeding ticket or a busted taillight or anything, they will extradite me. Yeah. So I'm like, I would tell my mom, I'm like, hey, you need to take the kids. I'm going to bounce to Colorado real quick and go see what I can do. I'm going to go turn myself in. And she's like, all right. And so I go to Colorado and turn myself in. I spent 5 nights in jail. It wasn't shit. Yeah, I thought them old friends of mine. I was like, what up, guys? Like, it wasn't even that big of a deal. Get out. I have a court date. They let me out on a PR. And the judge has known me forever. This judge has dealt with all my old delinquencies when I was younger. And he's like, I tell him, he's like, well, I see that you turned yourself in. And I was like, yeah, I got custody of my kids now. Well, not custody, but like my baby mama dropped my kids off with me, like they're living with me. And I saw I had a warrant, so I can't be having kids with a warrant. And so the judge was like, look, it's 2 years old. You turned yourself in. At this point, like the person that you assaulted hasn't tried to press charges further, so we're just going to dismiss it. Yeah, so the whole thing was dismissed. They just got dropped.
Bro, respect, bro. Respect. Like, I know that felt good, though. Walking in that courtroom sober, got custody of your kids, saying, hey, man, I did this. What do I got to do to get out of it? You know, that, bro, right, that's a flex, man. Respect to you.
Thank you. So I go back to Utah. I'm all squared away there. I get my license back, which is crazy. I hadn't had a driver's license for like 7 years. So I get my driver's license back, and then I get a vehicle. I got a truck. And then, like I said, I met my girlfriend. We met on TikTok. We were talking, She came out to visit. And then I was like, yeah, we're going to move to Ohio. And so we moved to Ohio. We just drove. It was a 3-day drive. It was a 24-hour drive from the part of Utah we lived in to the part of Ohio we had to go to, which is like Cleveland, basically. 23-hour drive. But with kiddos, that's a 3-day drive. We got to stop and stay places.
No doubt, bro. No doubt.
We almost got stuck in Colorado. We got hit in this snowstorm and it was nuts, man. It was crazy. And so we've been here now, and it's been 18, 19 months sober, no mess ups, and I have like a beer every now and then if I feel victory, but I smoke. That's about it.
I've talked to a lot of people, and there's a certain idea people have in their head of being sober, but it's not being sober, it's being in control.
Right. No, that's actually funny that you say that, because that's what I always try to tell people is being sober isn't 100% nothing. It's just control, responsibility. Exactly. Like you can still indulge. It's just, are you going to lose control, or are you going to be able to be okay with just the one, or even if it's the two, or whatever your limit is? Everyone's got their own limits, but you have to know your limit and be in control of that limit. Absolutely,
bro. And I got to ask you about one thing that you brought up, and I have a feeling I have an idea of what the answer is going to be because of my own personal experiences, but you're talking about this 23-hour drive. That's a 3-day drive with young children, and you got stuck in Colorado, almost got stuck in Colorado. There was a time in your life that would have been a very stressful, loud, and angry situation.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me what it was like for you. Tell me, instead of what it would have been in your past, and anybody who can relate to what we're talking about knows what we're talking about. What was that like for you? What was that moment where, tell me what about that trip?
Man, the first part that I had realized that the trip was going to be nice was when we were driving through the border of Colorado, where Utah meets Colorado. We're coming into the town called Fruita, and it's the town right before Grand Junction. And we're stopping at this interstate. I can see the Mesa, which is the pass we have to drive through to get to Denver. And I grew up in this town, Grand Junction. I know this town like the back of my hand. I know the weather there. I see the clouds, and I'm like, oh man, we got a storm coming. And my girlfriend, she's from Ohio. She's from the East Coast. She knows snow blizzards, all that. She's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, that cloud over there. She's like, it's so far away. And I was like, no.
No, planes and stuff like that, bro.
Right. I'm like, that cloud is hauling ass. Trust me, that cloud's gonna get there before we are, and that cloud's 10 times the distance away than we are. And I'm just like, we're not gonna beat it. We're gonna get stuck. And so we ended up getting stuck. But when we're driving, and she kept trying to tell me that we were gonna be fine, I was like laughing, because I'm like, this girl's never been to Colorado before. I'm about to show her something crazy versus what would have been. And it's just like, that's when I knew this was going to be an awesome trip, because I was like, holy shit, she's never experienced bipolar Colorado weather. Like, she thinks that she knows crazy weather. She's about to see some shit. And sure enough, by the time we got to Glenwood Springs, it was snowing so bad we barely made it to the hotel. And I'm like, yeah, we got to stop here. And we go in there, and I'm keeping an eye on the traffic cams for the Eisenhower Pass and Vail Pass. And I'm watching the traffic cams. Every hour I'm waking up, because I know Colorado. And the minute that snow stops, you have to go right then and there, because sometimes you only have 45 minutes. That's it. Oh, and then that snow is bad. Oh, wow. So like, when it's clear, you got to go.
Right.
And so I keep waking up every hour, and she's getting annoyed in the hotel because my alarm's going off. And then at 5:15, I see the snow kind of getting light, and I'm like, So I kind of shake her a little bit, and I'm like, hey, we might have to go soon. And so I wake up my kids, and they're ready.
Damn, bro, you an expert.
And so at 5:30, the snow, I look at the cams, and there's no snow. Like, there's still snow on the ground and shit, but like the snow's not falling. And there's like finally trucks going through, because they had killed all the traffic while the blizzard happened. They weren't they shut down the interstate. They weren't letting no one pass. Semis are going now at this point. And if semis are going, you go. And so I wake her, and I'm like, let's go. And she's like, well, hold on, I got to shower and da-da-da. I'm like, no, we got to go, like, now. Get up. And she's like, well, I got to pack. I'm like, we're packed. I did this all while you were sleeping. Like, let's go. Get up. We're leaving.
Yeah, I know the drill. Let me just get on with it.
Right. Like, let's go. So we get out. We're in the car, and we're driving up the mountain. And I shit you not, within fucking 30 minutes, the snow's coming. And we're like 20 minutes away from the peak of the mountain. And we're like, We're so close, but so far. Because now we're hitting the construction part of the interstate where it's one lane of traffic and they have those cinder block barricades on the sides. And there's semi trucks and all this, and it's raining, it's snowing sideways. And it's the dirty kind of snow because it's fresh, slushy snow on the ground and they're kicking up all this dirt. And I'm like, oh shit. So I turn on my windshield wipers and guess what? I don't have fucking fluid in this thing. No wiper fluid.
No.
And I'm like, oh my God, we're fucked. Oh no. I got my kids in the car. We're on this left side is oncoming traffic that's going downhill. We're going uphill. On the right is sudden death, like this 200, 300 foot drop of just, we're done for. And I'm like, ah. So my girlfriend hangs onto the oh shit bar, pulls out of the window and is dumping water on the windshield and I'm white in a blizzard. We get to the peak of the mountain and I want to say it's I think it's Eagle, and there's a gas station and I'm like, thank God there's a gas station. We pull in, she's freezing cold because she's just been over here co-piloting the hell out of it with the water bottle and I'm just trying to keep us alive. We get some fucking windshield wiper fluid. We're laughing about it the rest of the way. We get down the mountain and we get into Denver. And as soon as we get into Denver, guess what? There's a bad blizzard and they just shut the highway down again. And I look over at her and I go, that's why we had to leave right away. It was cool, man. It was cool. And it was fun. And I got to see parts of Iowa I'd never seen. Nebraska was, not going to lie, I'm driving through Nebraska. No offense to anyone that lives in Nebraska, but corn. More corn. It just was not a fun drive.
I feel that, bro. But
that
man,
part, but
hold up. But what we were talking about though, that story you just told me, she's hanging out the window because you're out of washer fluid pouring everything. I mean, she's dealing with miserable conditions, and then she comes in and y'all laughing about it. There's smiles on your faces. Anybody who's watching again. And I know there's a couple people who watch my interviews a lot. Shout out Sovereign Nature and Wallflower. Love y'all. But they've been through some shit too, and tell me about what it would have been like in your past relationships.
Anger problems, man. To be honest with you, I probably would have told her that she made a mistake by coming out there and trying to be with me because I'm bad luck, and I would have felt horrible that I put her in that situation. And I don't know if it's me being toxic or if it's actually a narcissist, but I would have felt like I was doing her a favor by just telling her to get away from me, and I would have probably just took her to an airport and flew her back home and then went back to Utah and called it all off. And I would have probably felt noble about it too, thinking that I just saved her and did her some big favor, when in actuality I just wasted her time and her money. And I would have just snapped and started yelling and telling her that how dare she question me about Colorado weather when she's never been here, and who knows, I would have been condescending and pompous and arrogant for sure. I can definitely bank on that much.
Damn, bro, that's exactly the answer I would have given.
Yeah, I had anger problems growing up, even without listening.
Absolutely, bro. The first thing you said, the first thing that you said about, you made a huge mistake, I'm a piece of shit, this, that, you need to get out of here, just get her away from you. That comes from all the self-hate that you've been taught by the toxic relationships you've been in. And then the other response is in your nature from those relationships when you were wronged. You're either angry or you hate yourself. Yeah, I do have low self-esteem, very low self-esteem, even to this day. I know that I have things that I can gas myself up on, and I give myself my flowers a lot more than I used to. That's something I'm working on. But I know that I wasn't angry and hateful in nature. A lot of my anger and hate came from myself. It was directed at myself, and I just lashed out on others, and it wasn't their fault. And I know that for other people, some people don't differentiate. They're like, if you're mean, you're mean. It doesn't matter. But I wasn't mad at the world. And I know a lot of people like to say that they were. I
I just had something going on inside of me, you know, and I didn't know what it was for the longest time. And after I got my sobriety, right before I got my kids, I had realized that a lot of it was just not looking in the mirror and accepting that I got dealt the shit card, but the things I was in control of, I didn't handle well. I could sit there and blame it on my dad ditching on me, and I can blame it on all the toxic exes, and I can blame it on the substances, and I can blame it on my autism, or all this and that and the other. But what I'm ultimately doing is just deflecting any sort of accountability and responsibility. And I just had to finally look myself in the mirror and be like, you didn't make it any easier on yourself. And the things you had control in, you didn't control very well. And you're not a victim. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, even on things that happened to me when I was victimized as a child and shit, like, I'm not a victim. You know, like, I've learned from things, and I won't allow anybody to victimize me. I'm just like, I had to just understand that I put myself in some pretty shitty situations, and I hurt other people because of the way I looked at myself. And once I realized that, I was able to correct it, and I was able to start learning how to love myself. And I like to say learning how, because I don't know how yet. But once I started at least being open to trying, my interactions with people started being different. And people were more receptive to my words. And I know that when you're battling certain things like sobriety or like addiction and insecurities and self-worth and stuff, that the hardest thing is getting people to listen. And I think that's because of the subliminal things we don't notice, like our energy. We're putting off this energy it's just other people find it repulsive, and so they don't want to take anything you're saying seriously. But once you're starting to love yourself more and you start emanating that love, people feel it. Whether they notice it or not, they feel it. And so they're more receptive to your words. Even when you're wrong, they'll listen to you. And they'll be more empathetic. They'll try to be more understanding. And it's just, that's what my cousin RIP used to always tell me. We're all connected, whether we want to believe it or not. There's a vibrational pattern that looks like roots of a tree stem. It's just like the way neurons fire in a brain. We're connected spiritually, intellectually, physically, all of this. And whether you want to admit it or not, we can feel things, and you feel someone's intentions. And we like to call it like intuition or vibes or spirits for religious people. But whatever the word is that you have for it, it's there.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And I gotta just say, from personal experience, you're new to this happy relationship that you're in. I was in a very similar situation. I won't get into it too much. I am almost 3 years into that very same type of relationship, for the first happy one, that just, when stressful shit happens, we don't get stressed out. We figure it out, and we do it as a team. It is taking me a very long time to get over that. Everything you're talking about, the struggle to give yourself your flowers and your self-worth. The only reason that I was able to actually fully get through it was because I had somebody who actually loved me. And it sounds like you have the same thing, bro. So you're on that path. You'll be there, man. Like, just stay confident. And let's get to your aesthetic, your whole vibe, the music you make, man. You are a person who's gone through it. You again, and this is something else I can relate to, is like we were talking about, you know, half the music I've ever made has been about how much I hate myself and how I'm trying to get over that. I hate myself more than anybody can ever hate me. So any hate that I get just doesn't affect me. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what people think about me. You don't give a fuck about what people think about you. So this has been a very well-earned aesthetic. Tell me about who you are, man. Tell me about your music and your punk rock, your true punk rock nature, because you can't deny it by looking at you.
I'm still slowly finding myself day by day. But I know that a lot of my image, I started finding myself when I bought the Hybrid Theory, the very first album that I ever bought when I was a kid, Hybrid Theory, Linkin Park. That was when I learned that I like rock and roll. Because before that, like my mom listened to a lot of funk, Motown, old school stuff. And so like I didn't, you know, I didn't know any much about rock music, but like my brother and me got some Christmas money and we were like, let's go in on this album together. So we got Hybrid Theory, and that was when I was like, yeah. So I started becoming rebellious because of those songs and what is it? Points of Authority, I believe. Shut up when I'm talking to you.
Oh, man.
Like that whole, as a kid, like I used to just put my Walkman headphones on and I would just walk around going, shut up when I'm talking to you. Shut up. Dude, I was just going, I'm such a person. I love that shit, dude. I was going crazy. And like my mom was like, is he talking to me? There was many times I got smacked in the back of the head because like my mom would be talking to me and I didn't know it, and I'd just be like, shut up. Next thing I know, what the hell? But once I realized that I was into that sort of music, I started going into other genres. Well, not genres, other bands, and like, but I started just catching this rebellious attitude because that's the nature of it, you know. And so that's where I started getting the attitude before the aesthetic. I started getting the attitude first and just fuck authority, fuck anyone that tells me anything what to do. I started hanging out with my hood rat friends in the trailer park and we were doing stupid stuff like stealing people's beer off of their porches or breaking into cars or putting dry ice in water bottles and throwing them in a mailbox. I shouldn't say that. That's a federal thing.
You didn't do that. It's okay. Those
were bad, trying to look bad cool. Dreams. Yeah, but we were doing crazy shit as kids, man. Just like we lived in a trailer park, and so like most of us in the trailer park are either single parent households or the households that do have two parents. A majority of them had some sort of substance abuse or domestic violence issues. I'm not trying to put everyone in a box, but in the trailer park we lived in, that was how it was. And the kids would just run like the bottle kids on Trailer Park Boys. They just run around. That was us, bro. Like we were just kids just running around in this lawless wasteland like Mad Max and just like more like an Ed, and Eddie episode actually. But still, either way, we're going crazy. And either way, I was just rebellious with attitude. I always got in trouble with schools, always getting cops called. And then the swagger started coming in with probably when I got into high school, and it was still the baggy pants and the baggy shorts era. Like South Pole was still one of the most popular brands ever. I liked trip clothes and I liked to like dress very different. And I always liked to be like against what everybody else liked to wear. And like I did have, like everyone else, I did have that quote unquote gangster phase, but we didn't. But like I liked dressing in ways that incited some sort of response. I liked to instigate with what I was wearing, whether it was wearing a Juggalo jersey, even though I wasn't one, just to piss off, because Juggalos got such a bad rap in my town. So I was like, I'll wear Juggalo shit. What's up? Like, hey, this is y'all off? Okay, I'm gonna wear it. And I started becoming a Raider fan because I grew up in Colorado, and you know, everyone there's Bronco fan. Yep. So I was like, I'm a Raider fan, baby. And it just grew on me. And just that's where I started learning to dress in ways that pissed people off. And then this whole stuff happened. There was this point where I was making music. I want to say I was like 21 and at 22, maybe even 23. The years have gone. They started to blur and mesh so much that sometimes I still think 5 years ago was 2008. So
I feel you, bro. Trust I feel you.
But at one point, I was messing with this producer, and his name was, at the time, he called himself Scholar Boy, but he was in this band called Molly Mountain. And he was the one that was recording, mixing, mastering all my stuff. And we were in Grand Junction, Colorado, and he had made this comment. He was like, dude, if anyone from this town's going to make it, it's you. Because you're the only person here that dedicates every waking second that you have to your craft, even if it's to your own detriment. Like, as ashamed as I am to say it, like that's the reason why a lot of my relationships have failed. It's the reason why I wasn't, that attentive as a father when my kids were first born. Like I wouldn't say I was a bad dad, because when I was there, I loved my kids. I take great care of my kids, and I'm much better now. But when I was still with their mother, I always relied on her to take care of them so I could go chase my music career. And I'm not saying that was something to be proud of, but that's just what it was. Sure. Everything came second to music. Everything. I refused to work because it would cut into my time to write and record. Like I get off of work and now I'm tired. I just want to go to sleep. I don't want to write shit. I don't want to go record. I don't want to go perform. The fuck? Why would I want to do that? Performing is like a workout, man. It's exhausting.
It is.
It's tough.
It is.
Tough gig. And so I didn't want to work. And so I wouldn't do shit, man. And I'm just music. That's it, music. Like I had my own little hustles, and to make money, make ends meet. But music. That was all I did. And so when he said that all I ever did was put everything into music, and so therefore I had to be the one to make it, I was like, I need to fully commit then. I can't give myself any option to fall back on a job. I'll get tattooed on my face then. And so that's why I tattooed my face.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite reason anybody ever gives for face tats, bro.
I didn't want to be able to get a job. I was like, if I ruin my ability to get a job, then I have no choice but to make it.
Respect.
And so I didn't want to give myself a plan B, because plan B is planning for failure, and I don't plan for failure. I'd rather watch the ship crash and burn.
Nah, I feel that, bro. I feel that.
I'll take us all down.
I'm pretty sure you told me about your biggest personal accomplishments, and if you haven't, I'd like to hear them. But what have been your biggest accomplishments in music?
Honestly, probably the number one, for me at least, was in the town that I lived in, Grand Junction, the town I lived in the most, Grand Junction, Colorado. I set up my own show, and I was the headliner. And that's like, as a local artist, like, and this was like when I still had like, like maybe 200 followers on Instagram. Like, I was nobody. I was just like a local artist at this point. But like, for most local artists at that level, bad idea. Don't pay money to rent a venue and do all this stuff. And I printed off a bunch of t-shirts, and I put money into this. And I was like, local artist. But I had just had my first ever viral video on Facebook, and everyone in my town was just gassing me the hell up. And Lil Peep had just passed, so like everyone that was in the emo rap scene was just getting a lot more spotlight than they had. Like, this emo rap genre had been around for a while, but no one really paid attention to it until Lil Peep had passed, because no one even knew who Lil Peep was when he was alive. Like, I knew, but like me and a bunch of other people knew, but a majority of people did not know who he was. If you were in the emo music scene, then you of course knew who he was, and the whole demographic.
I didn't know who he was till he died. I'll tell you that, and I'm not.
Yeah, and the majority of the populace did, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it was like, when he passed, it's sad that it took him passing to do this, but it put spotlight on that. And so I did the show, and we sold out. We sold out. I was even modest. I booked this smaller venue that was an indoor skate shop. It could only hold 200 people. And I could have booked the big venue there that was the Mesa Theater. It can hold up to almost 900. And I was like, there's no way I'll even get close to that. We sold out the place, the indoor skate shop, and we had to turn people away. There was a big line of people that couldn't fit inside. Yeah, we had to turn people away. But for me, that was a huge accomplishment. In a small town that really doesn't have great of a music scene. The local music scene's awful. Like, if you're not big and famous, they don't really support you. For me to have an indoor skate shop completely just fully packed of just people with like lighters and cell phone lights, and people who knew me, like my town, and they're singing along to the songs, and that was probably the coolest. Like, I walked away with like $2,800 that night. Like, I sold out all my merch, and the venue split the ticket door. They split the door with me 50-50. And since they were an indoor skate shop, they didn't have a bar for no drinks or anything like that, like not even sodas, water, or anything like that. So I went and bought a bunch of like bottled water and sodas, and I sold that stuff. And since I paid for it, I got all of it, and I made out so much money on that show. And I don't want to say so much because it wasn't, but like relative to where I was at in life at that point, it was very substantial. And that was probably my greatest accomplishment as a musician. I felt good just because of how hard it is to get anyone in that town to support local artists. And there was a lot of different people. There was country boys there was juggalos there was even some of the old heads who hated the quote unquote mumble rap, and there was just a lot of different people there, and it was just nice to see everybody meshing, singing along. And then my second best feat would probably be when I was on this little team called Dead Boy. We all put together our own little tour, independent tour. It burned in shambles, but we did it, booked all the little venues, and went one by one to these little venues and performed for like 5 to 10 people in each city because it was poorly promoted. But we did it. We did it. And
man, that gained you experience that made you better for the next one and the next one and the next one.
Yeah. And then my third, because I'll just do a top 3. My third would probably be selling out my first round of merch. Like, and not even talking about with that show. Like, the show, we sold out all that merch, but like just recently, like 6 months ago, I did my first round of merch. and I bought 100 shirts, and I was like, I'm trying to sell all these, see if I can fund a website. And we sold all of them in 45 days. And I started my website, my Shopify account, and I've got a closet full of a whole bunch of them still.
Tell me about the social media following that you've gathered, how you did it, and how you're selling this much merch.
Man, the social media stuff happened actually when me and my baby mama split up. Because like I said, when me and her split up, I was in a downward spiral. I hated my life. I was hoping I would just, whatever, and delete myself off the face of the planet. So I was just doing records. I was doing a bunch of substances, and I was like just not good. So I was making these wild, crazy TikTok conspiracy videos, and I made this conspiracy video about human beings come from Mars, and it went viral. It went super viral. Like, I still have some of the articles saved. It went like worldwide news, like in like articles, not like TV news, but like, yeah, I was getting articles written about me in like CBS Online. And like, I was in a CNN article. I was in a New York Post article. I was in a IndiaDaily.com. I was in Daily Media. I'm pretty sure, like Daily Media, like the big one.
What was it about?
I was saying that human beings came from Mars because there was like, I was just like, look, if you look at, like, there's lots of things, like, I don't want to butcher the video, especially because I can get people to go watch it, but like, basically I was saying that there is supportive evidence, not definitive, but supportive evidence that could say that the redness to Mars is due to a nuclear catastrophe that had happened that had destroyed all the resources, because the redness is going away. And if the redness was naturally part of, Mars's eco, then it would probably stay red. But the fact that the redness is going away means that it probably wasn't natural. And the fact that human beings were the ones, out of all living organisms on this planet, were the ones that are affected most by the gravity on this planet. The gravity here literally kills us, and it doesn't do that to any other organism. Like, the gravity here is very bad for us, and that's the sunlight messes us up like super. I don't know. It's just, I just made this theory because I was on a whole bunch of substances, and I was just like, hey, look at all this stuff. We're not from here, and it went super crazy viral, and that's why I was like Crackheadjoedirt, because substances I was doing, and I had a mullet, and people were like, someone had told me I looked like a Crackheadjoedirt at a show. I had a mullet, and that's where the nickname came. He was like, you look like a Crackheadjoedirt, and I was like, I know you're trying to insult me, but that's like awesome. I like that. I really genuinely like that. Joke's on you, fucker. It's the coolest thing ever.
That's what I'm talking about, bro. You can't hate me more than I've hated myself in the past, Like, go ahead, talk shit.
Right, I love it, because if it's funny, I'm gonna laugh at it and be like, dude, that's great.
That is.
I'm gonna take it.
Yep.
Pull a Prince, like when freaking Dave Chappelle tried to make fun of him and did the waffles or the pancakes, and Prince made it his album cover.
Hell yeah.
Made millions off of it.
Bro, one day we're going to do an interview, and I'm just going to let you rant about all the conspiracy theories that you know about, and I'm going to talk about the ones I know about, and it'll be great, but we can't, we'll go off for 4 hours right now on that shit, man.
Well, that shit started going. I started doing a bunch of stuff with TikTok, and then that kind of did its own thing, but it hit a wall. And then I was trying to figure out how I could get my Instagram to get buzzing, and so I thought maybe try to hook up with some famous people, because I started to get a little bit of clout, and so I was like, maybe I can hook up with like people who are semi quote unquote famous in the alt scene. So I hooked up with this girl who was quote unquote famous in the alt scene named Erica Camacho. And not one of my proudest moments. I didn't know who she was. If you don't know who she is, thank God, because that's where I was when me and her first got together. She is, dude. She was one of the very first people to ever go Facebook famous. And I didn't know any of this stuff. Like, when I got with her, I had no idea that she was famous for putting a snake in one of her orifices. She gave birth to a snake, and she would brag about how when she was underage, she would lie to older men and tell them that she was overage, and then sleep with them, and then report them to the police to get them in trouble. And she bragged about it, and I didn't know any of this shit. And so when I get with her, she was of age at this point, but she was 20.
Oh my God, bro.
She might have been 19. She's 19 or 20. I'm like, I think I'm 26. I was 26 or 27, and she's like 19, 20. And she said that she was old enough to go to the bars, because like when we first started talking, I think she's either in Texas or North Carolina. And she had just got done getting into this big old controversy with this up and coming artist named Keep My Secrets. Just had a whole big controversy with that. And so I'm like, oh, this girl's got clout. But I still have no idea who she is. So I'm talking to her and I'm like, hey, you should come out and visit. And I'm in Denver at the time. And she's like, okay, well, I'm like, how old are you? You old enough to go to the bar? She's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, that's all I need to hear. I don't care at that point. You're old enough to drink? Cool. That's what I hate going to 18 and up bars because I hate having a wristband or a fucking marker on my hand. I don't want to show my ID every time I go to the goddamn bar. It pisses me off. Like I'm just like, and so we go to this bar, and the minute we get there, they're like IDs, and she pulls out her ID, and they're like, "You're underage," and I'm just like, so this is how that's gonna go. And we had just paid already, like we're already in line to get in. So I'm like, we're leaving now. So we leave. And that whole situation burned. Now, she was supposed to stay for a week. We didn't. Either way, that didn't work out. I bailed on her after, I think, 2 nights. I was just like, I can't deal with this. She ended up asking me where I can find heroin in no, she's like, yo, did you get black? And I was just like,
glowing red flag. Glowing.
Well,
you got.
I was like, I booked this hotel for a whole week. You can have it. I'm leaving. No, I left. I left. I was like, you can have this hotel. You've slept in this bed. You've used that toilet. You've showered in there. This is yours. This is all yours. I'm leaving. And I left her there. Told her have fun figuring out how to get to the airport. All that shit. It did a little bit for clout, but not so much. And then I hooked up with another girl that was sort of Instagram famous. The one I was telling you about, Jules, the one that helped me get clean. For her, I actually liked her. I didn't hook up with her just to get Instagram famous, but I knew that it was in my best interest if I started like finding interest in people who had bigger followings. That didn't end up working for my clout either way because it wasn't the best breakup. Because like I said, we started getting together and then I had to break up with her because I got my kids and I had to leave and she didn't take that so well. Rightfully so. Yeah, that didn't help for the Instagram clout. But then I started doing memes and my conspiracy theories, and then I started catering to very offensive stuff. Because like, we live in a time now where you got to be careful about things you say. And I'm not talking about like, I know the first thing people say is, oh, well, if you say racist stuff or like sexist stuff or this, we're not going there. But I'm just saying when it comes to comedy, there's just such a censorship in it that like, there's certain things that if you laugh at something, people are like, witch hunt. Like some with pitchforks.
Yeah, bro. And look, I'm 5 years older than you, but we did come up in a time where there were a lot of jokes that were very much allowed in common that are not allowed in common anymore.
Right, and I just know there's a lot of people who enjoy that sort of humor still, but there's no market for it because everyone's so afraid to get canceled. And so I was just like, I don't really have a fear of it because like I said, I had hit a wall with my social media and I was like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, what am I risking? I'm going to get my page banned and deleted. Oh no, my 400 followers. Ooh. And the rest is kind of history.
You post some really, viral worthy videos. They're very interesting. When I'm going through my feed and one of your videos, one of your reels pops up, it's one of those every single time you have to stop and you have to watch.
You gotta see what Crackheadjoedirt put up.
I have 2 questions. It's not just because it's you. Like, you choose the ones and you pick the moment it starts that gets you interested and that has the right caption. There's 2 questions I have about that. First of all, where the hell do you find all this content? And then second of all, how does that play a part in your music hustle and all of that, your brand and everything? Tell me about that.
So the first question, I find the stuff by just trying my best to stay up to date on news and pop culture, meme culture. Because like, as much as there's like trending music and trending genres, there's trending inside jokes with memes. There's memes that can have one beginning origin stage where it's this image, and then after all these evolutionary steps of its virality, it's a whole different image, but there's one singular similarity that's carried the joke over so much that there is actual pop culture with memes. And so it's just like with this Kevin James thing now, you're seeing like all these like smiling Kevin James photos. People are even like cropping them out and adding like Violent J into them now. They're adding weird, awkward photos of like Pete Irwin. Like it's the same joke, but it's a totally different image, and someone else might not notice that. But I just stay up to date on all this stuff. I scavenge Reddit. I look at groups at Facebook. And what I'm looking for is I'm trying to see stuff that I see lots of. And then I try to imitate and replicate it with a different image that not anyone else is using. And I try to alter the caption just a little bit. And then sometimes I'm in these certain groups on Reddit that I can't give away because they're small. There's like 7 or 8 people in there, and it's the rules of this group is everyone makes original memes. And we're allowed to steal each other's memes because it's 8 people. We're all from different sides of the world, and we're 8 people in a puddle of 7 billion people on the planet. So we steal each other's memes. I put my original memes in there. They put their original. We're not allowed to put stolen content in there. It's the memes that we've all created. And a lot of the stuff I steal from them because they're from out of the country and they've got different community standards for their version of the app and what they can post. And I post a lot of that stuff. And some of the stuff is original because a lot of people say I steal my stuff. And I say, jokes are stolen. Jokes get recycled. You never heard of a rerun?
Bro, social media content is safe from that.
Recycled.
No,
it's recycled.
You can't hate on reusing content from other people.
Right.
That's the
Everyone does it. The difference is if you look at a lot of my reels, whenever if their Instagram is an active Instagram, they're tagged. I tag anyone's content that I use and recycle if it can be verified and validated that they are the owners of it. Otherwise, anyone could just say it was theirs and I tag it. But if you can validate and verify that it was yours, I'll tag you. If you can't validate and verify, I'm not going to risk it because I'm not going to risk discrediting somebody else just because you said that it was yours, because humans lie. But a lot of my memes that are not mine are credited, and they're credited not only in the tag, but they're also tagged. And I've had one person give me a problem with it, and I pinned their comment, and they look like an asshole because I was nothing but nice and cordial about it. And I was just like, "Look, dog. Like, if anything, I'm giving you more clout with your content." And there's times where like I'll see something off of Reddit, and I'm like, "This is hilarious. I'm gonna repost this. I've never seen it before." And so I'll post it, and someone's like, "Oh, that belongs to this person. Credit them." I'll verify it, and then I do. And so it's like if it gets brought to my attention, credit them. But a lot of the stuff I post is mine. My conspiracy theories. There's memes that I have created by myself, and my humor has gotten better as I've gotten along.
You gotta learn the social media humor. It's a whole different thing. Like, you can't always just take your own sense of humor and try to play that on social media because it's a way to play the game. But then once you learn that, you can use your own. But this is one of the reasons I was really excited about this interview, because Crackheadjoedirt, and I see the shit you post, and I see the music you post, and it's like you put yourself. I had a feeling that you put yourself out there as this like crazy, like in your face. If you look at it, I'm probably an asshole. If you meet me, I'm just like fuck you, But like, you're a good dude, bro. You're a good guy.
Thank you.
You have good intentions. You've been through it. You're on the right path, man. Mad respect to you, for real.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man.
What does success in life look like to you? I just deflated you, bro. Like,
well, if you asked me that before I got my kids, I would say it looks like, $10 million in the bank, nice ass house, and a bunch of cars and bitches on my dick. But, and a Tony Montana monument, if you will, on my desk. But that would have been 2 years ago. After I've gotten my kids, I've started to just think what success would mean to me would be me never ever having to tell my children no to any of their dreams because we can't afford it. If I say no, it's because I have a reason, some sort of moral conflict or whatever. But I don't want to ever look at my kids and say we can't do that because we can't afford it. If my son wants to go to Yale, get your ass in fucking Yale, boy. We don't need a scholarship. I got you. You know what I mean? Like, that type of stuff. Like, I don't want to spoil my kids and give them the world, but like, I want my children to have any sort of like advantage or opportunity to do whatever they want, and I don't want lack of money to hinder them in their dreams and stuff like that. I don't want them to grow up in the way that I did and experience that level of poverty, and I don't want them to see You know, like I had to watch my mom cry when she would pick up food boxes because she's so ashamed. You know what I mean? Like it's my mom's got a college degree in accounting, and there was a time where, you know, the jobs were just so tough, and he had to go work at McDonald's. And like my mom's a fucking accountant degree, you know, and a business. She's got 2 college degrees, and she's sitting in a drive-thru at McDonald's. And like there was one time I went with my friends to go eat. I didn't even think that my mom was working, and my mom's in the drive-thru, and I'm in my car with my friends, and I knew that it embarrassed the fuck out of her. And I just, you know, I don't want my kids to have to go through that type of shit. And so all the money in the world don't mean shit if it's not something that can't go to my kiddos. Like if the money's important, I'm not gonna say it's not, but it's just not for what I thought it was. Like I want my kids to just be good.
Respect to that.
So that's my goal. That's my dream, is to be able to afford my kid. If any of my kids can go to Yale or Harvard without a scholarship, then I'd consider that, you know, that's success, because that's not cheap. No. If you can afford that, then you're probably doing very well.
They have to earn that shit too. I don't care if it's not on a scholarship. Get in that school, bro. That means they earned it, bro. So they deserve it. Right.
So it's like, yeah, because they don't just let no one in.
Exactly.
Yeah, you gotta have. And so like if they're able to do something, and the only thing that's holding them back is money, I've been there, and I don't like that. I don't like it when you have the opportunity, you have the ability, you have the skill set. The only thing you don't have is the freaking Fetty. Because that kills your parents. So I know that killed my mom inside, to have to tell us we can't do it because we're poor.
Absolutely, bro. I feel that. Do you have anything coming up you want to talk about?
I have my album coming out on Halloween.
Tell me about. Oh man. Oh boy. That doesn't surprise me. Honestly, the only thing that surprises me is that you didn't drop it on Friday the 13th in October.
I was gonna, but I like to have at least 4 weeks of promo. Okay. You know, ideally I'd like 45 days, but 4 weeks at the least, so I can share it every day. Just try to get some buzz going. Like all of this following.
Get some shit dropped about it, bro. Tell me all about this album.
This is the final album in the trilogy that I've done in that trilogy. The first one was Stories About Nothing. The second one was It's the Thought That Counts. And now this one is In My Own Perception. And then after this trilogy, we're done with that sad boy emo version of Hypokrit, and now we're going into the second stage of Hypokrit, which is his punk roots, which is why I shaved the head, I got rid of a lot of my piercings, and I don't dye my hair anymore and do the split. Like I'll always be a sad boy at heart, but like I've been a punk kid my whole life, and so I'm going back to those roots, and that's why I got the vests now.
Hell yeah.
This is actually part of my clothing company. I do these for, you know, the Lolo. I modify vests. I don't resell, just to legally protect myself, because this is not my brand. It's a Milwaukee vest. I do not resell vests. I take people's vests that they already own and I charge them to modify. Yes. And then I send back. So I tried doing that. This next trilogy that I'll be working on, I haven't even started yet, but this album is the final piece to end this era, and also leave a little bit of what is to come. Give you a little tiny taste of what you might be able to expect in the future with my next era of sound. I've got more features than I've ever done on this album. It's only 3, but still. I've never had 3 features on an album before, so that's cool. It's not anyone big, but it's my homies, and I think that we did some pretty cool stuff. And the artwork was my manager's idea, Louis Cohen. He completely designed the whole album cover himself. I had a totally different idea that I wanted to go in, and usually I'm very, very angry when somebody I think I lost you for a second.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, cool.
Usually I'm pretty angry when my manager tries to question like my ideas, and he's like, maybe we should do this. I'm like, excuse me? Like, this is my art. Let's hold back a minute. He's like, well, I think it would be really cool. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know, I really
hope that's exactly how he talks. Well, I think it would be really cool.
No, that's literally how he talks. He's very, very autistic. He's just very direct and no filter. I love it. I laugh at it too. Me and him, we always laugh because we're both autistic, and so we both just clash. Not because we're angry, but just overstimulation. We just get so overstimulated around each other. We're just
that show, bro.
dude, we just feed off each other like.
That's awesome, though. That's awesome,
dude. It's crazy. But he'll be like, no, I think this idea would be really, really cool, man. We could do this. And I'm like, that's a great idea. But it's not, though. So we're going to just go with my idea. And I'm like, dude, I have this other idea. What if we did this? And I was like, oh, wow, I really like that. You know what would also be great? My idea. And so we always clash. But when he said this idea, the way he said it, I was like, look, dude, it's the last album in the trilogy. You've been promoting it as your last album because it is my last album. It's just the last in the trilogy, but people think it's the last. And he's like, so you're kind of, giving everybody a fuck you with the joke. And he's like, why not? It's the last album, and then you're burying that trilogy. Make it a whole, and you're burying them, and flip everyone off because they think that it's your last album. So you're fucking pulling a joke on everyone. They're the ones in the hole, and you're flipping them off like, fuck you, you fell for it. Now you're in my hole, and I'm gonna bury you. Now you're buried in Hypokrit. Now you're gonna just fall down the hole of Hypokrit, I guess. I don't know. I just thought it was cool.
Idea, though. That's an amazing idea. I love that, for real.
All the little images in the dirt, it's a hole, and then there's a can and a martini glass, lipstick on it, a Red Riding Hood cape. But all the images that are in the hole represent each song.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's gonna be fun. I'm excited. My son made a debut on one of the songs, actually. My 7-year-old son is on the song Bulletproof.
That's so cool.
Yeah, the punk rock song. It's with the band and everything. So
that's the son that was on the story that you posted, and he was all like,
Yep, that's Amari. We call him Mars for short, but his name's Amari. And then my daughter's name's Jupiter. So we got Mars and Jupiter.
Wow, bro. I love that. I love that so much, man.
That was my babies.
Before we end this, bro, is there any kind of sentiment or life lesson that you would like to leave anybody watching?
Oh, that's tough. I'll just go with the safe one, which is pretty much what I always try to remind everybody with my brand. No matter, even though I have this whole punk rock thingy, the main thing I always try to remind everybody with is we live in a time now where it's very, very hard for men to seem vulnerable. And I know that everybody can be vulnerable, but specifically men, I want men to understand it's okay to be vulnerable, man. It's all right to cry. It's okay to feel. It's all right to be able to make yourself open to expressing your true feelings. Know who to express them with, obviously. Don't express them and share them with everyone, because there are people who will try to use it against you, and they will try to hold it against you. And I think that we do need to have safer spaces for men to open up, but find it. If you don't have one, find one. It's usually your bro. If your best friend can't listen to you cry and not laugh at you for it, that ain't your fucking friend, dude. You need to have friends that are comfortable to let you cry with them and will never ever throw you out on blast about it. Not gonna go to guys and be like, he was crying like a bitch. No, you need that friend that sees you crying and hugs you. You know what I mean? And just to find that. Because remember, man, it's I don't want to butcher the number, but it's something like 234,000 a year, and it's got to stop. So
says Crackheadjoedirt. Bro, I love that. Truly, I do. And I've had several conversations with men who have gone through it, and they all agree. I talked to a guy in prison. They started a book club, and the first book they started with was Real Men Cry. Talked to a guy last night, spent 10.5 years in prison, and I told him the same thing, and he said, I cry all the time. I take long showers and I just cry. Real men do cry. It's real, bro. It's real. Mad respect to you, bro. I so much appreciate everything you shared, your vulnerability.
Thank you.
I have an undying respect for you. I can't wait to see all you accomplish. You are not just trying to make statements with your music, but you're making statements with your social media posts. And that used to sound so futile, but it's significant now. And the things that you post on social media are, you can keep making a difference, even if it's just getting their attention so that it points them in the direction of your music and your other content and things like that. Thank you so much. This has been Karikter Asked It, an incredible conversation with Crackheadjoedirt, bro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Hypokrit. Follow him up, hit him up, support this man, please. Thank y'all so much. I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
The most prestigious network in the land, the Signature Series Network.